some major news broke since the last time we talked, and that's that James Franklin was fired as the head coach for Penn State football. You sat here and said that you wouldn't really expect them to be able to move off of that because of the buyout, blah blah blah, this that, and third. My first initial response to you on that was like, if you sign up for a buyout like that, one, Penn State is one of the premier football programs in the country, so they have the pockets to be able to handle that and like keep business moving as usual. So I didn't really think that the buyout was that big of a problem. What really shocked me, and I texted this to you, and I hate James Franklin. I have been pounding the table for like years on like he's not the guy. He's not the guy. I'm genuinely shocked that after every single thing that that he's done for that program, and some people may think otherwise and say that he didn't bring back the program from like a dark time. I would argue that he did. I don't think that I wouldn't give Bill O'Brien like the hat off on that one. That was all James Franklin. Everything that he done, all the games that he's won, the Big Ten championship, bringing them back, bringing them to like relevancy, like in totality, to see them move off of him, like after a rough 3-game stretch in the middle of the season, like genuinely shocked me. And I understand that the coaching situation in college football is weird and the timelines are weird and like you got to hire guys within a certain amount of time, and there could be potential people in the college football playoff who won't be able to get to interview for the Penn State job because like they're coaching at that time. Like we've
same with the players too. Like they had to make like Bo Perbula had to make that decision.
We talked about it countless times. They need to fix something like this so shit like this doesn't happen. But I really thought that it was a pretty, I said classless. I said that to kind of like be dramatic a little bit, but really I think the word that I would use now is just a really shocking move. And I'm not sitting here saying that might affect anything that happens with the next coaching hire, but you got to have to sit here and think like, it's got to affect it a little bit where it's like, holy shit, like the guy that's done everything for Penn, like post Joe Pa, the guy who like did all of that for Penn State and was pretty damn successful, like in the court of during his tenure, like got like fed to the wolves, like during a 3-game losing streak. It's like, what's that mean for me? Like I said, I could be exaggerating on that like a little bit, but it's always something to take into consideration when you're talking about some of these coaching situations. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So obviously there's like a lot of things that I have to say about this whole scenario. I'll start with the buyout. You were correct. I was hesitant because I didn't know the way that the contract was laid out was he had to find a job elsewhere and that Penn State wouldn't end up ultimately paying all $50 million of that buyout. They just have to pay the difference in whatever his new salary is. So I didn't know that. So realistically, it's not going to be $50 million because he does have to put in a good faith effort to find a new head coaching job or any job for that matter. And with the amount of coaches that have been fired within the last few weeks, I do think that he will find a new head coaching job before the end of the season. So you were correct about that. I could not believe on that Sunday morning that I was getting the notification that he was actually fired. It felt very almost like, I don't know the exact word, but it felt very like non-Penn State-ish. Like Penn State has been very like traditional and like by the book and like I don't have any other words to describe it, but you get what I'm trying to say is like very, very unexpected for them to move on from him in the middle of the season like they did. Now, I'll say this, I think it was the right decision to do it at this time because of the way that college football timeline lays out. Whoever the next head coach is going to be has to I believe that it's going to get announced whenever that is figured out. I think the goal is the beginning of December. Um, but I think that the timeline of them firing him had to happen because at that point, you wait till the end of the year, you're almost just denying the inevitable. And then that takes away from this new opportunity for whoever this coach is to go out there and be boots on the ground right away with recruiting and the transfer portal and all that, because whoever this new coach is going to be has to absolutely dial in when it comes to recruiting, because this entire 2026 class has pretty much decommitted, and understandably so.
It's crazy.
It's pretty normal when a coach gets fired.
But it seems crazy. Like all of the just from outside looking in perspective, like because it was on my on my feed on X. It was like, oh my, everybody's out at Penn State. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah. So many guys have decommitted. Now, I will say that there have been a handful of guys that are still committed, but are opening up their recruitment. So I don't really know what that means, because in my opinion, if you're going to be looking elsewhere, just you're not committed technically to the school. But so be it. Another thing that I want to talk about is, you mentioned that he did a lot of good things for Penn State, and I do agree with you on that. I want to talk about how after he was fired, the bigger names in college football tried to go on this fucking woe is me spree with trying to shit on Penn State for saying, oh, they made the wrong decision. And it was Nick Saban saying on the College Game Day interview with James Franklin, it was really unfair. Fuck you guys, because we had to sit here as Penn State fans every single time that Penn State would play in a big game and then lose a big game. We had to sit here and listen to these fucking dickheads go, oh man, like, Franklin can't get it done. Are they going to move off of him? All this negative publicity for Penn State. And for them to flip the switch the second James Franklin gets fired and say, it was really unfair, is absolute bullshit, because they would lay into Penn State and James Franklin anytime that they had a chance when Penn State would lose a game. And they deserve to be laid into. Penn State deserved it because they couldn't win the big game. But for them to try and say that this was unfair, it was such bullshit. And it genuinely made me pissed off, and it's making me pissed off right now. Because another thing, I don't blame James Franklin for doing this, because there is part of him that wants to clear the air from getting fired and whatnot. I get it. How many times does a head coach that gets fired go on College Game Day and do a fucking publicity interview press tour the week after? If there is a coach out there, please tell me, because I've never seen that. Yeah, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
it gets me fired up.
I kind of did the same thing, honestly, where I was like, I thought that they should move on from him, but like once they did it, I think it was just the manner they did it, to be completely honest with you. Like, where it's like, I understand like the timelines and everything like that, but it was just like all the shit that he's done for Penn State. It was just like, whoa, like they actually just like dropped him in the middle of the season. Like it was like it was like genuinely shocking. So I think that's where a lot of the pushback comes from, like from like the people who that are talking about it, like what Nick Saban said, like, do you think that you were treated fairly like on your way out? It was just like, I'm not saying that there needed to be a parade held for James Franklin, but I do think that what happened at Penn State and him going into Penn State and then turning around this college, I can't even think, this organization, and making it like legitimately one of the most premier schools in the country from like a football perspective. Like I felt like he should have been treated with maybe just a little bit more dignity and respect on the way out. And I think that's where it flipped for me too, because I was just like, you know my opinion of the Franklin situation. I like just thought it was time. I thought like it like ran its race pretty much. I was like, yeah, it's time to probably move on from him. Like, but then when it got done, I was like, yeah, I wanted them to move on from him, but like I thought that they'd be like decent about it. And I'm not, and who knows, maybe the conversations held behind like closed doors were positive and he's understanding of it or whatever. Or maybe they weren't. But just from like outside looking in, and I think that's where like that panel was coming from that you're referring to when like Nick Saban, like they asked him the question. He's obviously not going to say anything other than the right answer in that situation. James Franklin's like a class act and like runs for he could like run for president pretty much. He's never going to say anything. He's not going to say like a soundbite that like makes everybody fired up. And then Nick Saban spoke for him essentially and was like, I think it's unfair the way that you got treated on the way out. And I get where you're coming from Penn State fans. Like, damn, you guys gave us so much shit and then we finally pull the trigger and then you give us more shit. And it's like, and it's just like what I said. It's like, if they just did it, like if it was just like after the season, like we kind of knew going into like the last game, like this is James Franklin's like final stand or whatever. I even think that like some of the guys on the team were probably pretty upset about obviously him getting fired too, like the whole nine. So it was just that this might have been the biggest story of the entire college football season outside of like whoever wins like the national championship is like what happened at Penn State the start of the season. So, and then moving on from James Franklin. So yeah, I mean, people are going to have some strong opinions on it. And I wasn't just trolling when I texted you that, like, it just felt like a bad move from Penn State to treat a guy like that on the way out. And listen, he's going to make a shit ton of money. I'm sure that he's completely fine, the whole nine, but it's just like optics outside looking in.
My pushback on that is a few things. All offseason, he went out and was talking about how this is the most talented team he's had and the best coaching staff he's had. And then for him to go out there and absolutely piss down his leg in back-to-back games as 20-plus point favorites, what are you going to do? That's seems fair to me. And then on top of that, when this is what I was told and what I was hearing,
the team sucks.
No, but when you're talking and you're setting your own expectations as this, and you go out there and you lose to Oregon, okay, whatever. Season's still not dead, but then you go out there and you are completely the most underprepared I've ever seen a Penn State team in back-to-back weeks in UCLA and Northwestern, to lose to both of those teams as 20-plus point favorites. After at the beginning of the year, you talked about how this is the best coaching staff and roster you've had since you've been there. Ridiculous. And on top of that, this is what I was told, and what I heard was after last year, he went to Pat Kraft, the AD, and asked for an extension and a raise. Pat Kraft said no. So he went around Pat Kraft's back and talked to the people above Pat and asked for an extension and a raise. So I think that is what made this much easier for Pat to say, you know what, fuck you. Like, you went behind my back and asked for an extension after I already told you no. And then on top of it, you already went out there and were preaching about how great this team was. And for you to come and shit the bed like you did in those 2 weeks, see ya.
I guess I saw that report too. Obviously, what's the issue with that?
If your boss tells you no to a raise, I don't necessarily know if it's the right thing to do to go up to another boss above them and say, hey, can I have a raise?
I completely disagree with that. That's what I do that every day. So
fair.
We're off.
But, like,
me and you are off on that. Like I think that like
fine,
if James Franklin wanted an extension, like it would have shocked.
But if you're Pat, look at this through Pat Kraft's lens. If you're Pat Kraft and you already tell him no, you're the AD, right? Like, you're the athletic director. you're the one that makes that decision, and you already told him no, and he got slimy and went behind your back and asked anyways, like that would I can understand why that would leave a sour taste in his mouth and be like, all right, I don't have any loyalty to this guy. He tried to snake me and he hasn't met expectations.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Obviously, yeah. I don't think that one's that big of a deal. But I saw some people talking about that. The last thing that I want to touch on this, and then we can move on, is like I want to talk about dream. I want to give my dream scenario and nightmare scenario for Penn State football. Are you ready?
All right, hit me. Yeah, hit me.
Dream scenario would be Sam Leavitt stays in college and Kenny Dillingham, and you get Kenny Dillingham and Sam Leavitt at Penn State next year.
Yeah,
Dream
yeah.
Scenario.
So the list that I put out, Kenny Dillingham was third, but the list was created prior to the Arizona State, Utah, or Texas Tech game. The way that Arizona State, I think being able to beat the number 7 team in the country, like is impressive, and I think that
Texas
I think
Tech
just adding that, I don't care. I still think that's an impressive win.
Yeah, it is.
It's still an impressive win to me. But what I was going to say is like 1 through 3 on my list were like not were the margin between the 3 of them was extremely minuscule, and Kenny Dillingham going out there and just like proving that he can win in these big games, plus having Sam Leavitt. I think that is.
You want to talk about? We talked about job rankings the other day. You want to talk about like a clear difference of like, because we got into an argument about like LSU versus Penn State. I said LSU is a way better job than Penn State, and like Penn State is a way better job than Arizona State.
Yeah, 100%.
Way better. No matter where the location is and stuff like that, like that is a way better. So him jumping ship to there makes sense. We talked about it the other day because we were talking about like how Adam was like, oh, like, well, Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame to Penn State. It's like Notre Dame's a better job than the Penn State job. And then it's like,
it doesn't even make sense why he would leave there.
Yeah, it doesn't. It makes zero sense. Now for my nightmare scenario, I feel like you already know what I'm gonna say. Is Matt Rule and Dylan Raiola as your night as
oh my god, dude. Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to be a fan for at least a year. I mean, that'd
be radio silent.
You would have to be. That would be the worst. That would literally be the worst case scenario for Penn State football.
Matt Rule is a good head coach, but he is a good head coach in the same exact way that James Franklin was a good head coach. And I want absolutely nothing to do with Dylan Raiola in Happy Valley, like at all. I think if you hire Matt Rule, you're hiring James Franklin 2.0.
I think that if he hires Matt Rule, like there needs to be some conversations had about Pat Kraft, because that's clearly they're like friends. It's like you can't just like hire your friend. I mean, that's like you shouldn't be in the business doing that. So that's all I have. I just wanted to say that, obviously. Just funny thinking about what could possibly happen and seeing Dylan Raiola in that blue and white.
Dude, he would look terrible in blue and white. But I will say, on a more positive note, I would love to have Dillingham and Sam Leavitt. I think it might be tough to pull him away. That number is going to have to be gigantic because of the success that he has had at Arizona State. I understand Penn State is a better job, but the amount of success that he's had, plus him being an alum of Arizona State, I feel like would make it a little bit more difficult than some of the other guys that have been thrown around.
Maybe,
but we'll see here in probably a month and a half or so. But I will say, like, it's exciting to go through this process of like figuring out who the next head coach was or will be. It feels like endless possibilities as far as like what Penn State could be if they hire the right guy. but it could be endless misery if they hire the wrong one. So
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I've seen some of the names that people throw around. Like, if you're not going to take a shot at like a young hot shot head coach, in my
it's exactly
personal
where I'm at.
opinion, like you can go and hire the dude from like you can hire Mike Elko. It's like, okay, cool, you hired Mike Elko. Like, try to get somebody who's like potentially like flashy and like just a hotter name than Mike Elko.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy looks like shit.
He can coach, but I do agree with you. I want like a young gunner as my next
Let's
as
just
the
try
next
it.
head coach.
Might as well try it.
I completely agree. I want my criteria is like there was 4 things that I had for the next guy for Penn State, and it's like I need them to be an offensive minded coach. I want them to be like 40 or younger. They have to have like some level of proven success, and that it's not. And when I say that, I mean like even if you didn't win a national, you have proven that you can run a high level offense. And then my 4th one was like you have to be a great recruiter. So,
dude, can we talk about something here real quick? This is like your employer, Blue White Football, or State Media. I mean, how pathetic is this media company? Like, I'm thinking of like all of the hits that could have been had like over the last few weeks with like what happened. And I commented on it on like that one reel, like where like James Franklin like just got fired and they were like talking about like you were like talking about the UCLA game. I'm like,
that was from like that video that I made was right after the UCLA game. Like the process sometimes for getting the videos to them takes a little longer because it's not just a production team dedicated to Penn State. Although what happens is once an event like that, like once something big like that happens, it should be all hands on deck for whatever college that huge event happened for. So that's why I just took the matters into my own hands and posted my own video because I was like, I can't wait a week for this to get produced and edited or whatever. So I just ripped my own 3-minute video and put it up.
They posted nothing that about like over like think about like like the last few weeks, the Oregon loss, the UCLA loss, the Northwestern loss, the firing of the coach. They have nothing up here. There's nothing on this. It's insane, but that's all.
No, they put up a tribute video to James Franklin, which
I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion. Collect the stash.